welcome to another episode of Dungeon Masters Guild Design Dash. Let us know in the chat if you are a Dash connoisseur or if this is your first Dash. If it is your first, then you are in for a treat. DM's Guild Design Dash is a bit like Iron Chef, but make it Dungeons and Dragons. The three folks down here, our contestants, are going to be getting a secret theme and designing a D&D encounter in only 15 minutes. It is always a wild, fun time, but let's start us off with some introductions. Hello, I am Lysa Penrose. I'm the brand manager over at Dungeon Masters Guild and also one of your hosts today. And I'm joined today by Jack.
Hello, I'm Jack. I am a creator relations representative for One Bookshelf, so Drive-Thru and DM's Guild.
Yeah, and then we have our contestants, including our returning champion, VJ. VJ, tell folks about yourself.
Hey everybody, my name is VJ Harris. My pronouns are they, he. I am a freelance designer for tabletop role-playing games, mostly 5e. I'm pretty sure most of you know me for An Elf and an Orc Had a Little Baby or Those Who Wander in conjunction with Adam Hancock. And that's pretty much what I do.
Now, VJ, I'm asking all of the contestants for no reason in particular whether you have a favorite bird. The more bizarre the bird, the better, in my opinion.
I do have a favorite bird. It is a goose, specifically because their mouth looks so creepy to me.
Like, oh no, I don't like that you're making me think of goose mouths because they are.
I'm sorry, but that's the... I saw a thing once where they had like teeth and I was like, this is Photoshop. This isn't real. And then I was like, oh, it's real. That's cool.
All right, we're starting this dash off on an incredibly cursed note already. Let's move along swiftly to Kayla. Kayla, introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Kayla Bayens. A lot of you also know me as DM Dalliance from the Mostly Weekly blog. You also probably recognize me from the big Encounters in Candlekeep that came out recently, where I somehow managed to turn around all of that in 3 weeks and then died a little. So yeah, I guess my favorite bird, I have two, because I wanted to give you a bizarre one, but also like all of the lore and folklore around hummingbirds is just like amazing and beautiful, so I will always love them. But the Patu, like that bird just looks like too weird. It is like the most upset looking bird just naturally
its name have ever seen. Patoot?
So yeah, so I might not be saying that right, but it is the most bizarre looking bird I have ever seen. Yeah, Potoo, Potoo. It is the most bizarre looking bird I've ever seen.
I'm gonna have to look this up later, or maybe while you're designing. But in the meantime, Benjamin, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name's Benjamin. I go by he, him, and people probably know me from the pugilist classes. I think the first thing people associate with me, but I have a few others, Mega Scholar, and I have a series that's soon coming to an end called the Complete Handbook series. And yeah, so that's probably how you know me, if you know me. As for the bird question, which my wheels should have been turning about like what that means about the future of this hour, but they haven't been turning. So, you know, I don't do the outside too much, so I'm gonna go with an owlbear because that's the only bird I can see inside whenever I want.
Does it count as a bird? It's at least half a bird.
It's at least half bird. I mean, yeah. And if it doesn't, then I say a bear owl. We'll just flip it and you know.
Yeah, that's interesting about what it does. Owl bear definitely feels like owl is a descriptor to bear. We could spend a whole hour breaking that down. But we have some designs to make, folks. So before I reveal the secret theme, which may or may not be related to this random bird question, I don't know. Folks in chat, you play a really important role this hour. So during the 15 minutes that VJ, Kayla, and Benjamin will be designing, Jack and I will be chatting about Dungeon Masters Guild, but also chatting with you in the live chat about a rubric. So we need to figure out what scale are we grading everyone on. So 1 to 5 what? Stars is boring. It could be like 1 to 5 burbs. Again, don't know why. Like, just birds are great. And then 3 categories in which we're going to grade folks on that rubric. So chat, as Jack and I are discussing things, definitely throw out your suggestions with rubric in all capital letters at the beginning so we can see those jumping out at us. But okay, if everyone does their own personal drum rolls, I can reveal the secret theme. And the secret theme, celebrating the premiere of Black Dice Society on the D&D channel, da da da, the theme is bird in parentheses loft. So each of you has chosen a bird. So VJ, your theme is goose loft. Kayla, you have a choice of hummingbird loft or patoo loft. And Benjamin, yours is owlbear loft. What does that mean? Interpret it how you will. You have 15 minutes. I'm going to give you an extra minute so you get those extra seconds. But it is 11:06 for me right now, so you have till 22 past the hour. 22 past the hour. And go forth and dash. All right. So, Jack, usually when I give a theme, I have an idea of, oh, this is what I would do in that theme. But I don't know if I know what I would do with Bird-Loft.
I mean, my immediate thought is to replace Strahd with a bird. But I don't know what that means.
I love that. I feel like I would choose something like, I probably would have chosen a flamingo because I think they're such fun birds. I may have gone for hummingbird as well. But would maybe have loft makes me think of houses. So I might have done some sort of hag Baba Yaga thing, but their house is like part whatever type of bird I chose.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. What do you think in chat, folks? Yeah, Davidson says it would have been great if someone chose a raven. I don't know if it would have given it away, but I definitely would have steered away from raven had they chosen raven. But, or if they did, like, great. They've got a lot of material to
They can just do whatever.
But what should our scale be? What should our rubric be? 1 to 5 whats? And then what are 3 categories? Just start throwing out categories, chat, that you think we should grade these bird encounters on. I don't know if you have any ideas off the top of your mind, Jack.
1 to 5 nests. I don't know. That's bad.
1 to 5 feathers. 1 to 5 burbs.
1 to 5 watching geese eat things because it's gross.
1 to 5 hoot growls because of owlbears, I think.
Yeah.
1 to 5 eggs. There's lots of bird-themed things we could totally pick.
1 to 5 omelets.
Oh no! I actually kind of like how dark that is because this is based off of Ravenloft.
True.
1 to 5 murders. I had like a murder of crows. Challenge.
What was the
1 to 5 beak smiles. No, Obo, that's too cursed. That's too spooky.
1 to 5. What was the movie with the killer birds?
The birds.
Birdemic. Well, there was birds. That was probably the more well-known one. I'm thinking of the really bad B movie, bird movie. I think it was called Birdemic.
I didn't even know that about this blessing.
It's bad.
I kind of like omelets a lot. 1 to 5 omelets. I'm gonna write down omelets. 1 to 5 omelets. We need some categories that we're going to be grading on too. Someone said spookiness earlier, so I do kind of like maybe picking the spookiest encounter since this is very loosely based off Ravenloft. So I'll put spookiest ? Most likely to encounter in the Northern California coast. Oh, goodness gracious. But okay, as folks throw out some rubric grading categories, so sort of superlatives we can award at the end of this hour, what's going on over at Dungeon Masters Guild, Jack?
Well, I did want to point out that previous guest, oh gosh, bad with names, Darren
Darren Kenny?
has finished his sinful archetypes bundle. So they did a bunch of sinful archetypes, and they're very cool. And he put them all into a really nice bundle. Let's see if links still work. Nice. So I wanted to point that out because I think they were just about to release the final one at the beginning of last episode. So that's all. Yesterday was April Fool's Day, and we didn't do anything because it's not that fun of it's not that fun of a holiday.
Pranks make me sad.
Same. But somebody did release a project called Jokes on You, in which Jeremy Crawford, lead designer for Dungeons and Dragons, is a warlock patron.
Oh my gosh, that is so fun.
There's a whole lot of really cool things in there. It's like a bunch of subclasses. I mean, there's like a ton of subclasses. There's creatures, there's NPCs, and the subclasses are really funny. Like the Circle of Fleas for the druid. There's the Wizard of the Coast wizard.
Of course.
They're normally
right
found
there,
on
guys.
beaches.
Yeah.
And that's really fun. Just pop that into there too. In which they actually did reach out to Jeremy Crawford and was like, "Can we make you a warlock patron?"
Oh, and he was cool with it? That's awesome.
And his response was, "I will happily serve as a warlock patron as long as my boons have something to do with hags, unicorns, and following your bliss."
Oh, that's so sweet.
So that's really fun. Last month we had the book come out, Candlekeep Mysteries. So we had a lot of cool stuff come out for that. And one of the things was, speaking of owlbears, the Opulent Owlbear, a bookend for the first adventure in that book, which is really fun. And it's by Daniel Kahn, and it's really cool. It's basically like if you play through that and you want to keep playing, you just kind of slap this onto the end of the first adventure.
Oh, nice.
And that's really fun.
That's awesome I love when there's content that very specifically expands on the official release.
Yeah, because you start playing into a game and you're like, you get to the end and you're like, well, what do we just stop or come up with something? It's like, oh no, you don't have to. You just keep playing. It's the same kind of storyline. It keeps going.
And that's also like a big pro to designing for Dungeon Masters Guild, that you're able to do that. So it's nice when folks take advantage of that too.
Yeah, kind of like a direct sequel, which you can do for any of the books that are coming out. Let me find the Sidekick series. I know a while back they expanded on the Sidekicks when what was it called? Yes. Yeah. When Tasha's came out, they expanded on it. And so there's been a series that's just done a ton of them. Basically a Sidekick project for every book that's ever come out. And this one is for Candlekeep Mysteries, and one of them is a rogue Modron.
Oh, I want a rogue Modron friend.
That like lives in the library, and it's really fun.
Oh, I love that their series creates sidekicks specifically for the various hardcover books. And gosh, I hope one of the sidekicks is like a fun librarian. Or is the Modron like a tiny little robot librarian? That'd be so cute.
I guess it could be.
You could, live your bliss. Make it a
It just came out today, so I haven't had time to really look through it. But I saw it and was like, oh, I love little Modrons.
That's awesome. All right, I'm looking at some of the folks, some of the ideas folks are throwing out in chat. And Davidson said, easiest to run. That's actually pretty interesting. We've not had, most of our categories we've had have been like super specific to the theme. But I like the idea of like right out of the gate, how easy is this to run? Like what support in terms of like calling out specific rules does it have for the DM? How much does the DM have to improv? I'll write this. What's another way to say like out of the box, we'll just say easiest to run. I don't know why I felt like changing it. Easiest to run. Oh, I also realized I spelled spookiest wrong earlier. Okay, that's fantastic. What else? Oh, folks really like the idea of bird art. They want to know what would have the
Bird
best art.
Like the birds are making the art? Like a painting bird?
Oh no, I think like which wood has the best potential for adorable bird
Oh.
art with it.
Okay. I was like, which bird is the best artist?
I guess people just really like burbs, so they want that burb art. So that's a potential third one for us. Oh, Emily in chat says, adorable baby Modrons living their best lives, shelving books. Modrons would really like the Dewey Decimal System. I feel
Yeah.
like. Just because it's a system.
Do owlbears lay eggs?
No existential questions, Jack.
I just thought of this, like...
I think...
Are they mammals or are they avian? Like, are they birds?
I mean, it just has the head of an owl, right? And, like, some feathers, but, like, the body of a bear. So I feel like it's mostly mammal. But then this kind of calls into question the birdiness of Benjamin's encounter already. Emily, oh, wait, no. Okay, good point. Emily says they're like platypuses. Don't platypuses lay eggs?
Yes. I think they're the only mammal that does.
Okay, so yeah, so that's true. Like, even if it is mammal, it could still lay an egg. There's precedent.
So weird.
Yeah, I don't like the direction this conversation has gone. I'm gonna take a peek at some of these designs.
Yeah.
So we'll update. I don't want to update it while they're working, but when we present later, I'll update the font so that this is a little bigger for folks who are watching the screen. But it looks like, well, first of all, VJ has written Goose Loft with 3 question marks and then oh no. So mistakes were already made in choosing goose. But also it's a blessing choosing goose. And it says Grand Goose Loft. In the presence of Oh my gosh. Okay, so there's I just read ahead. There's going to feature a silver dragon who is in the form of a goose in this one. So pretty excited. Let's peek over at Kayla's. Scroll down. Whoops. All right. Hummingbird or Potu Loft. Oh, I love that Kayla has a bunch of bullet points at the top of what they have brainstormed.
Puns, obviously.
Yes. Call of the Potu, wicked area of effect damage. One flew over the Potu's nest. Oh, wow. Okay. This has like been broken down into what encounter, what levels the encounter is meant for, what pillars, combat and social. And I see that she started out by creating a bunch of section headings and filling them in, which is how I approach design personally. So can't wait to... Oh, I also see there's going to be many other birds that come up. So I don't want to spoil us too much. So we're going to click over to Benjamin's design. Owlbear Loft. Oh, it looks like we're going to have a tavern. Very classic. Shortage of critical supplies. They're looking for heroes. The owner of Hunt's End is Pooh. Is offering any hero who can procure owlbear eggs. Whoa, a hefty price.
So I guess owlbear do lay.
Yeah. Okay.
According to
right away. And also, oh no, he needs the eggs for his signature dish, the owlbear omelet. Oh goodness gracious.
A mighty big omelet.
I guess. Oh, unless you use just like a little bit of the owlbear egg. I don't know. I'm like, should one of the categories be most upsetting?
Yeah.
And maybe that falls into how spooky
that's the secret category.
The secret encounter is most upsetting. Oh, we have a question. Was it a design decision to leave the challenge rating out of the sidekick supplement so that you could play with expanded number of sidekicks? I mean, the idea of sidekicks is that they kind of level up with your character. So they could really be... I don't really think they have like a challenge rating, but they have sort of like a level, like your character has a level.
Yeah, and their stats are very sparse, specifically so that they can kind of do whatever you need them to do without being hindered by numbers.
Yeah. Let's see. Greer in the chat threw out some best to worst vacation spots, which is sort of interesting. Maybe sort of best bird sightseeing, bird watching, best bird watching could be a category.
Oh gosh, speaking of birds.
Okay, so this is what I think we have so far. And we've got less than a minute till we call time. But I think we're grading on 1 to 5 omelets, and the categories are going to be spookiest, easiest to run, and best bird watching. I think that's what we've decided. What do you think of that, chat? We ace that rubric? I'm so excited to hear more about these encounters. I feel like there's potential for them to be even more wildly different than usual.
That's true. Very broad topic.
Yeah.
Do people eat platypus eggs?
Is that why you were typing a moment ago? Were you looking that up?
No, that was the bird freaking out.
I don't know. There's
now
probably
I'm like,
someone who has. I feel like people are very curious about things they can eat or not. Ooh, Jace's bonus category for most avian references. That would have been a good one too. Okay, but it is 22 past the hour, so I'm going to hop into our little Zoom chat. I'm going to call time. And...
Don't Google that.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh my gosh, I can't find our... Okay, there, it brought up the window. Okay. Benjamin looks like he might still be designing, so I'm going to go in, highlight everything. I can't tell if Kayla is still designing or not. Okay, VJ's hands up, though. Okay. Hello, everybody. So how were those 15 minutes for you? Was it what you expected? VJ, was it any different than the first time?
Actually, yeah. So the first time I gave myself 5 minutes to do any type of prep, and I was panicking that whole 5 minutes the first time around. Oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. This isn't gonna work. But then I had like 3 minutes to spare when I was like, oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do. So that was way better.
Oh, good. Good. What about Kayla and Benjamin? Your first time in the arena?
Definitely a lot quicker than I expected. But I think the fact that I've done so many encounters recently has helped what I was trying to do.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I basically decided that I was going to give myself 1 minute to think before I started writing. That was my plan going in. And that's what I stuck with, even though I had nothing after that minute. I was like, well, all right, at this point, it's just words on a page and we'll see where it goes.
All right. The advice that folks usually give for the dash is whatever your first idea is, just run with it. There's no time to try to edit yourself in terms of brainstorming too much. We did take a peek at everybody's designs during those 15 minutes, and all of 3 of the encounters look very interesting. So I cannot wait to hear from all of you. We're going to start with VJ, but first, to share with y'all the rubric, we're grading on a scale of 1 to 5 omelets. The categories we're going to grade you on are how spooky the adventure is, how easy is it to run right out of the box, and then best bird watching potential. Best bird watching potential. Okay, so we're going to start with VJ. VJ, I'm going to make your font size larger just so folks can read it on the screen. But go ahead and walk us through the Grand Goose Loft.
Okay, so the Grand Goose Loft, it is a deadly combat encounter for 4 players of any level, unless you're 20th level, and then it's just a hard encounter. So the premise is tucked away in one of the many lofts of Paragiron's palace, in a room with a seemingly mundane door guarded by some of the most elite royal guards. If one manages to enter, they find themselves in the presence of Eldradar the Eternal. Eldradar was once a powerful ancient silver dragon that had been forced into the form of a goose. Despite not being able to turn into their once magnificent form, Eldradar still maintains a lot of their powers, including creating a lair. The room functions similarly to the lair of an ancient silver dragon with some difference. The floor is covered in goose feathers, and if the characters were to attack Eldradar, they would rise up from the floor and become a swarm of feathers, attacking creatures on initiative count 20. Scattered across the room in various nooks are 5 nests with 1d6 plus 2 eggs in them. When attacked, Eldradar can have the eggs hatch and fully grown geese appear to attack the characters. These geese are nowhere near as strong as Eldradar, but they are stronger than your average goose. They can be considered a silver dragon wormling. In the event that you defeat Eldradar or didn't come to fight them, they are hospitable and offer you refreshments in the form of roots, seeds, grains, berries, and insects. They are a fountain of knowledge, having lived for thousands of years, and are willing to answer questions, either because you defeated them or for a price if you came to negotiate instead of fight.
Oh, what a sweet little encounter. Or, I mean, not sweet, I suppose, if you decide to attack, but sweet if they offer you seeds and berries. That's lovely. Jack, what are your initial thoughts on this encounter with Eldradar?
I really like the idea of a dragon stuck in a goose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think of like a really tiny dog who acts like it's a really big dog.
Yes. I feel like there's lots of role play potential
Mhm.
as Eldradar, and also like little things you can do as the DM to flavor Eldradar as a goose dragon. Like, I don't know, making their beak silver, like those sorts of things, or like the little scalies on their goose feet. I don't know how geese work. I don't know. But if it's a dragon who's turned into a goose, maybe it has scales on its feet. Let's see. If you had another 15 minutes or as much time as you wanted to expand on this, what do you think you would have worked on next?
I think the next thing actually would have been some more guidance for the DMs for what their appearance could look like, because I know, like myself, I like having those options if my brain's just like, nope, don't know what to say. And also some role-playing tips, like obviously they're hospitable even after a fight is like some direction, but a little bit more like if they have like weird quirks or whatnot that they do when they're talking, or like from being alive for years and having lived through different like time periods.
Goodness. I'm also, someone in chat just called out that dragon rhymeling goose is terrifying. I didn't think about that if you did fight. I like that you've kind of created lovely flavor to all the different layer, but made it goose-like. And the idea of being swarmed by a bunch of silver dragon geese is pretty terrifying, I think. Do you have any questions for VJ?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. What, VJ, would you say is indicative of your design style in this one encounter? Or would you say this came out like totally different than usual?
I actually would say this came out totally different than usual. Most of so I haven't actually like published any like well, no, that's not true. I keep forgetting what I've wrote. Okay, I haven't published really any encounters that are around like monsters specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Like adding on things, sure, but and a lot of the times when it comes to like what I do in my home games, from dropping something in there, it's a lot more straightforward, a lot more like they're much more likely to walk into a room that is transformed into a silver dragon slayer with an actual dragon in there that's not going to be as hospitable or whatnot. So I think I gave the goose a lot more grace in how they could behave than I would have normally done if I was writing this for like an encounter for my players.
Interesting. All right, Jack. So let's talk some omelets for this encounter. How spooky would you say the Grand Goose Loft is from 1 to 5 omelets?
Probably go with like a 2 or a 3. It's not spooky, but it could be scary, which I don't know.
Especially because it's a deadly combat encounter.
Yeah, I don't know that it's the same.
Yeah, I think spooky's a lot more about like ambiance. And scary is a lot more about the goose opening its mouth and doing a breath weapon on you. Because you thought it was just a goose that you could bully. So I feel like maybe 2 omelets. Yeah. All right. 2 omelets. What about in terms of easiest to run out of the box?
Probably like a 3 or a 4. It's pretty easy to run. I mean, it even has kind of role play for if the party doesn't fight them, which a lot of times isn't really included in encounters, which can throw a DM completely off when all of a sudden they're bargaining with the enemy. You're like, oh, I didn't expect this. So that's nice to have like a, what if they don't want to fight them?
True. We talk about this every time, but I feel like, again, because VJ went first, I'm inclined to give them an average 3 because it gives you know what stat blocks you can use that you're reflavoring as geese, and you have some mechanics for the lair. But I do wish that there was more on how to roleplay this goose's personality. I would love if there were examples of like 1 to 3 sentences this dragon inside a goose might say, so you really have an idea of like how they think about themselves as an ancient dragon, but they're a goose. I feel like but I also feel like if it didn't go first, I might have given them 4, but I want to leave some space
room to grow.
Yeah, for the rest. All right, what about in terms of best bird watching?
Well, if you like watching geese, there could be a lot of them.
True. And I have a bird watcher in our family. My mother-in-law loves bird watching, and we have been taken to see some geese. Also, I feel like like Emily says, this is a very rare bird. It's actually a dragon that's a bird. I've never heard of that before. So I feel like this is pretty good bird watching. That's also maybe a reason you would go to visit and be friendly to this goose, just to observe it. I'm inclined to give 4 omelets. I know I'm starting out pretty high, but it's a dragon goose.
Goose dragon?
Goose
owl
dragon.
bear?
Okay,
bear
that's
owl?
that's a really that's its whole own debate. How many omelets would you give it for bird watching?
I think 4 is good.
Okay. All right, so we've got a 2 for spookiness, a 3 for easiest to run out of the box, and 4 whole omelets for best bird watching. VJ, thank you so much for sharing that encounter with us. All right, I'm going to jump over to Kayla's. I'm going to get rid of highlighting it red, and then I'm going to make the font size, not that button, this button, larger so that folks at home who are watching can read it better. Kayla, walk us through.
Yes. So as you can see, my first bullet point there says bird puns, obviously. So as with everything I've ever worked on, there's going to be a lot of puns and hidden things in here. So fun fact, if you ever want to go through my library, there's tons of hidden stuff in them. So I decided to call this encounter One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's for tier 3, so 11th level to 16th level, 4 to 5 players. Encounter type involves combat and social if you're really charismatic. So as an overview, you have stumbled into the roost of the Council of Ka, a roost full of plotting birds with a wicked sense of burdening the humanoids with their perceived misdeeds against the flock. Now you must survive a series of trials from the Patu Battalion, try saying that 10 times fast, as your fate is decided at the whim of a feather. So encounter spots that these trials can happen include the Maze of Roosts, the Battalion Arena, Council of Ka's Chambers. So deep within the bends of space, within the plains, lives a never-ending roost, a maze of nests and burrows, because some birds do live underground, that connect all the feathered ruling bodies together in a flying V of decisions. They have been ruffled lately by the distasteful and often violent humanoids that seem to trounce through their citizens' homes and have decided to take into their own claws retribution to all who dare enter their home. The Murder of Crows, Patu Battalion, Fleet of Flamingos, and Pantheon of Godwits, by the way, those are all the actual names of gatherings of those birds.
Oh.
Have all petitioned the Council of Ka's harsh retribution on the non-feathered miscreants. So I started off kind of giving a hook on how you can get your players into the roost, because having just a giant bird's nest seemed a little bit too suspicious to get the players in there. That seemed like they would immediately be sus about it. So I suggested having a raging storm coming out of nowhere, kicking up hurricane level winds as lightning strikes all around the group, forcing them to make dex saves or getting hit with lightning and falling prone, buffeting winds, making terrain difficult and making spell casting having at a disadvantage in case someone wanted to do a dome or a tower. And there's this nice looking like almost cave just like right there that the players could hide out in. Totally not as sus as a giant roost in the middle of nowhere. So once they get inside, though, they notice that the inside isn't stone, but sticks and mud that have seemed to be like dried together in almost this like tunnel-like outcropping. And then they meet their first group of birds as a group of armored patus attempt to ambush the group, and that is as far as I got.
So time got ahead. So what would you have done if you'd had, say, twice as much time?
So I would definitely, obviously, finish up the patus ambush. I would probably have them have like gladiator stats, just because the fact of them being in gladiator armor and having like a trident seems pretty cool to me. And I would also give them the social aspects. So like I do want them to have a chance to put their case before the Council of Ka. And if that goes badly, then they'll probably be tossed into like more combat situations, not just with the Batus, but like I mentioned, all of those very angry birds. A murder of crows, or murder sounds very threatening.
I hate to interrupt you, but everyone in chat was talking about how they're looking up patus right now, and they're like intimidated, or the birds are majestic, and I'm like extremely frightened of one particular patu picture.
Right, it's the best image ever.
I'm gonna see if moving this tab into this window will show these burbs. And then does that zoom in? Look at this terrifying friend. So anyway, that's what we're dealing with. That as a gladiator. We're gonna zoom back out. Don't need to fully have that. We're gonna get rid of. Oops. Yeah, pulled up Ben's design. Okay. All right. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and I would add some flavoring to their stats though, because I don't know if anyone has heard the call of the patu, but it is equally as disturbing as their image and equally as bizarre. So definitely would force some saving throws to happen with that, maybe a little area of effects, just to give the players something unexpected. Because I do feel like when you tend to toss animals that are acting more like humanoid sentient creatures like the players, they think it's just going to be like they're going to have the same stats. So I always love to throw in a little something extra to just like throw them off.
Yeah, I love the idea that it's maybe a gladiator stat, but with a few extra like actions or abilities to surprise them. So I'm like just still all I see are the Patoo's black eyes in my mind. Jack, what are your first impressions of this encounter? Oh, I think you're muted.
Muted. The Patoos make this pretty spooky.
Yeah, now that we know what Patoos actually look like. Yeah.
And I pulled up what they sound like, and it is
Can you do
like
an
it will send
impression?
shivers. There's no. It will send shivers down your spine, though. It would be very strange to hear this with no context of what is happening.
Could you imagine you could like queue up the sounds of the Patoo, and then when your players go into this cave for refuge, just play that sound as the Patoos ambush them? Oh no, I'm upsetting myself. Kayla's like, yes. All right, so you're already touching on the rubric, so let's go there. Let's talk about this rubric. So the first was spookiest. So we're starting to feel like Patoo-wise, this is pretty spooky. How many omelets of spookiness would you give it?
I don't want to go full omelet, but like 4 omelet.
Okay, 4 omelets of spookiness. I'm just gonna give it to you because I'm haunted by that Google image search. What about in terms of easiest to run out of the box?
There's a lot of information. I think it would be pretty easy.
Yeah, I feel like what was really impressive to me, Kayla, and something that chat called out as well, is that even when we peeked while you were designing, we saw that you kind of had already considered what the encounter level was going to be, what pillars you wanted to put in it, and had broken down all those headings and like went back and you were filling in those headings. So you unfortunately didn't have an opportunity to finish all of the sections that you wanted to include. But what you did include was sort of like all the bits of information that a dungeon master would need and some mechanics for making stuff happen. That was really impressive. I feel like had you finished, I would want to give 4 omelets, but I can't in good conscience because time did win out in the end. So I'm feeling maybe 3.5 omelets. I don't know. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
All right, 3.5 omelets. What about best bird watching?
There's a lot of different birds. I don't know if that makes it good for your bird watching or not.
Yeah,
but...
I feel like that's really good, but then the birds you're watching are Patoos.
So that's really bad.
And that's really horrifying. So I kind of feel like those balance each other out, and then I would give a 3 for best bird watching. 3. Because it's good bird watching until you're scarred for life. So Kayla, thank you so much for that horrifying but fun and wonderful at the same time. One Flew Over the Patoo's Nest. Don't know if that's your brand, but if it is, well done. And we're gonna move along to Benjamin's encounter. So I'm gonna Control Z, so it's no longer red. We're gonna scroll to the top, and we're gonna make this size 24. So folks can read. Benjamin, walk us through Bird-Loft.
All right. So this is Bird-Loft. The Hunt's End, the only tavern in a remote hunting settlement on a major trade route, is suffering from a shortage of critical supplies and looking for heroes who can come to its aid. The proprietor has run out of the necessary ingredients for his signature dish, the owlbear omelet. The owner of Hunt's End, Pooh, is offering any hero who can procure owlbear eggs a whopping 100 gold pieces, but only if they can return with the eggs in hand by the upcoming weekend. To find the owlbear eggs, the characters will have to travel into the nearby wood. Owlbear can be elusive and dangerous prey, so the characters will need to succeed on a series of wisdom survival, intelligence investigation, and wisdom perception ability checks, first to track an owlbear and later to ensure they aren't ambushed by it as they draw closer. Failures on these ability checks shouldn't indicate the characters fail to find their quarry, only that they waste precious daylight hours or encounter other woodland threats along the way. Following the tracks I scrolled too fast. Following the tracks, the characters will discover a cave where the footprints disappear into. Characters who succeed on a DC 12 Wisdom Nature ability check will note that there is an abundance of strange and unknown mushrooms at the mouth of the cave. As the characters approach the cave, they note a powerful wind rushing from somewhere deep inside. The wind smells of cinnamon and ash. As they push deeper into the cave, it becomes apparent that not all is what it seems, that magic is emanating from throughout the earth here. Finally, the cave opens up into a hauntingly beautiful but dimly lit forest clearing. In the middle of the clearing is an owlbear wearing a shirt and gently weeping over an empty nest. If the characters attack, it will first attempt to dissuade them from violence, and, if unable to do so, will fight back to the death. If the characters take the owlbear's unusual behavior and appearance as a clue that it might be more intelligent than they might otherwise have imagined, further observation or talking to the owlbear proves them correct. The owlbear explains that she once had a mate with whom, and that's where the twist
No, what?
doesn't come in.
What could it be? Do you want to share with us, like, if you had like fully conceptualized the encounter, what the rest of the story would have been?
So Pooh was going to be her mate, and one of the two of them was going to have been transformed. I wasn't sure which yet, but I wanted to, I thought, so for instance, it's Ravenloft inspired, something horrifying has to be happening here. And what could be worse than feeding your kids as an omelet
Oh
to
my
people?
gosh!
So,
This is so upsetting. More upsetting than Patoos.
well, at least I didn't write it, so you can change it and it can be whatever you want. Just go there and then be like, nah.
Yeah.
Um,
Jack
yeah,
is laughing so
so
hard.
so that's the direction it was headed, is that this was going to be some truly horrible I mean, I thought the idea of Albert omelets was pretty upsetting on its own, so
It was. I called that
okay.
out while we
Yeah.
were peeking at everyone's designs. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I don't know who would eat an Albert omelet.
Goodness gracious. So what would you say, I know you do a lot of like subclasses and
Yep.
player option design. How would you say this is indicative of your design style, or was this a true departure from it?
So the biggest thing I think that showed up here is that I'm pretty referential when I write things. I have a very hard time not making pop culture references when I write stuff, and so I definitely, like, as I was working through it, was also trying to summon up anything I knew about 100 Acre Wood to like start making Pooh Bear references. I mean, the proprietor's name is Pooh. The owlbear's wearing just a shirt, no pants, obviously, because they don't do that in 100 Acre Wood. So yeah, I mean, in that sense, I think you can see the through line, because I'm really bad about making references and really dumb jokes that shouldn't be made, don't need to be made. No.
I love that you're combining like the gentleness of 100 Acre Woods with
Yeah, it's
such a
pretty awful.
horrifying story. Oh my goodness. Gosh, Jack, do you have any thoughts about this encounter or questions for Benjamin?
It's horrifying that these, but no, I don't think so. I think I'm speechless.
Okay.
Gosh, trying to think of how to word the question. I guess I was going to ask what you would have done had you had more time, but you did share with us what the rest of the story would have been. If you had an opportunity to do like a second pass through the whole encounter, including finishing it, where do you tend to spend your time kind of like editing and focusing on different aspects of encounters?
In this case, it would be to focus on what the relationship between the proprietor and the owlbear really is, and in fleshing out the kind of like backstory there. My favorite thing about running adventures is making sure that there's no easy win for the player characters, that everything is kind of a compromise. And so I'd have liked to have seen them either fail Pooh or fail the owlbear, but like somebody's going to go away unhappy about how this resolves. Yeah.
I love when encounters have really difficult choices that people need to make. I think that's also if you were pulling in for inspiration from Ravenloft, that's very true to stories told in that setting. Also, horrifying stories that focus on either one particular individual or two individuals are very Ravenloftian. So your story echoes that design style as well. All right, let's talk. It feels like extra unfortunate to say let's talk omelets for this encounter. But Jack, let's talk some omelets. How many omelets of spookiness?
Is horrifying spooky? I think
it is.
I'd say 10 out of 10.
Yeah, this is out of 5.
10 out of
5. But we'll
5.
give you 10 omelets.
10 out of 5. It's
what
when you're
about
eating your own children
Oh,
in
gosh.
omelet
It's
form.
very like most disturbing parts of Game of Thrones. Oops. Sign it.
Oh, you mean season 8?
Yeah. Sorry, I got like a weird little refresh. Let me zoom back in. So it's on the screen. There we go. Easiest to run out of the box. What would you say?
Maybe like a 2 or a 3. There's still some. I mean, obviously it got cut off.
Yeah,
So you kind of don't know where it's going.
Yeah, and there were some parts where there were examples of checks that you could give, which is great. And honestly, for some designs, that's all a dungeon master will need. You kind of have to trust them to run with it. At the same time, some examples of how you could incorporate a survival check and what that would look like would have been nice. So I'd also give that like an average of 3 omelets. What about best bird watching?
There's only one bird if we've decided that if an owlbear is a bird. And also it might not be a owlbear. It might not be a bird.
That's true, because it might be like a transformed person, maybe. So honestly, I'm sorry, but I would give this 1 omelet in terms of best bird watching. Although Spelljammer in chat is like, you have to track the owlbear. That is watching. 1 omelet. Okay. So we've got 10 omelets for spookiness, 3 for easiest to run out of the box, and 1 for best bird watching. Goodness. Benjamin, thank you so much for that nightmare fuel of Bird-Loft. As always, I really love the variety in terms of designs and storytelling that Design Dash brings to the table. Chat, you play a really important role in the next aspects of Design Dash. Right after this show, I'm going to head over to Dungeon Masters Guild's Twitter account at DMs_guild and post a poll where you can vote for your favorite encounter. And that designer will come back next month, first Friday of the month, to compete in the Design Dash arena again. So it is in your hands, but let's go ahead and do some outros. We'll go in backwards order, and we'll award some superlatives for this particular dash. And we will start with Benjamin, who had our spookiest encounter today. So tell folks who you are, where they can find you, and if there's anything else you want to plug, feel free.
Okay. So I'm Benjamin Huffman. I also go by Sterling Vermin sometimes, and you can find me at sterlingvermin.com or at sterlingvermin on Twitter. Twitter's the place I'm most active. And let's see, I've got, like I said, the complete handbook series, Pugilist, all that stuff. You should go get it if you don't have it. And I'm working on the final book, the Ultimate Adventurer's Handbook, and it's going to have a lot of new authors or authors new to the series that I'm super excited about. And yeah, so look for it.
Awesome. And Kayla, I'm actually awarding you a secret category that I think that you deserve for this dash, which is most fun bird facts in your encounter. Most fun bird facts. Kayla, tell us who you are.
So I am Kayla Bayens. You can find me on Twitter at justthinkingk. In my bio is a link tree that links to everything I am currently doing. So all of the actual plays, DM Dalliance, which is my weekly blog, all of my stuff on DM's Guild. I just put out the Encounters in Candlekeep. I'm putting out something called Whirling Bodies, which is an adventure that happens within Barovia. Totally not bodies on a windmill or anything. You can also find my
VJ's
stuff
face.
in books like The Adventurer's Domestic Handbook, Lovers in Arms. Look for puns in there as well. So yeah, all of that you can just kind of funnel through my Twitter for.
Fantastic. Kayla, thank you for being here. And VJ, you are our winner of Best Bird Watching. Let's see those cool silver dragon geese as you do. Once more, VJ, tell us who you are.
Hey everybody, VJ Harris. You can find me on Twitter at Vic the with 2 H's. There is a link tree in there that has everything I could possibly be doing. My website, my TikTok, which is where I've been spending a lot of my time when I'm not working on some projects. And one thing I want to mention coming up is I am working on the rules for the Horizon Walker teleportation stuff from the last Design Dash, and that'll be here in like a couple of months at most. But
nice.
Yeah, again.
Really excited for that. So again, whether you want to see VJ, Kayla, or Benjamin return in May, make sure you head to the Dungeon Masters Guild Twitter to vote for one of their encounters to come back. But Jack, tell us who you are.
I'm drinking coffee. I'm Jack. You can find me on Twitter, Jack's Not Funny. I am creator relations with Drive-Thru RPG and DM's Guild, so I read a lot of the new stuff that gets posted, and it's really fun, and I really enjoy reading all them, seeing all the cool stuff that comes up every day. And that's about it. That's me.
And I am Lysa Penrose, your brand manager over at Dungeon Masters Guild. You can follow me personally at Lysa Penrose on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. I also have a link tree with all of the places on my Twitter bio. And if you want to follow Dungeon Masters Guild, it's at DMs_guild over at Twitter and also Instagram, where we have just awesome cover photos or cover images from creations by DMs Guild creators. Definitely look out for that Twitter poll that I'm going to put up in a few minutes after we stop streaming. And I know we've got lots of creators in the chat, so I just want to say, may all of your creations and designs be dashing. See you all next time. Bye.